love. I think this title is necessary after completing a 3-day workshop based on love, based on all the paradoxes of oneself. Stating the qualities we like in ourselves, but also the qualities we don't like in ourselves. Quite similar, actually. Learning what is love, how does love show up, the different qualities of love. Things like acceptance, how to accept ourselves, how to accept others, how to accept the universe, respect. How do we really respect ourselves, others, the universe? Trust. Do we trust ourselves? Do we trust others? Do we trust the universe? The paradox is so funny because I find myself so trusting. I trust strangers. I only expect the best from them. I trust my intuition so deeply, which is almost the divine connecting through me. And I trust my intuition very much so. I lead a very beautiful life, so I trust that I can make good decisions. And on the other hand, I don't trust myself, and I don't trust others. And some big things I do, I trust their commitment, I trust, their loyalty, they'll be, they're good, but little things sometimes I just don't trust, and I question, and it creates a disconnect, or, people may perceive that as critical or whatever, and so there's some level that I don't trust others. Like one thing is, I always said I could never be a pilot because I would have to trust the captain and the co-pilot so much, and I don't think I could do that. Trust them and their judgments and their choices and their responsibilities for themselves for some reason. It's very weird. And then I have this, fear of the future and anxiety about the future, even though my life is beautiful. It's this underlying anxiety, which relates to not trusting the universe. It goes back to trust. So it's a huge paradox. I'm almost naive in my trusting of the world and myself. And, I get an intuitive hit and I do it. Like, I'll do extreme things, move to different countries, end relationships, buy this property, start this company, like big life decisions. Because I'm so sure and trusting myself, and other times I'm just anxious and not trusting. But it's also accepting, loving just the paradox of being human. Another thing is courage. I am defined, one of my qualities is I'm extremely courageous woman. I can backpack the world and I'm independent and, everything that terrifies me, I'll jump in and do it. If it's juicy and scary, I'll put myself into that situation. And people define that as courageous. When you feel a fear and you do it, that's the definition of courage. So on a physical level, I'm very courageous. But I learned at this workshop that on an emotional level, I'm not courageous. opening up in front of anyone, man or woman, lover, friend, family member, stating my needs, opening myself up to the fear of rejection or hurt or pain, or simply stating my needs. I am not courageous. I have shame in having basic needs of intimacy and closeness and love, and I am so scared to state that I don't. I'm so afraid to apologize. I'm so afraid to say I love you. I'm so afraid to say my desires. Not even my desires, my needs. It's really a need, basic human needs. So I have to work on that courage. And there's also, where does courage show up in your body? Where does courage show up in my body? Realizing that. Where do I feel courageous in my body? In other words, honesty and integrity. It's one of my values that I always talk about. I'm so full of integrity. Integrity with my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. Is that real integrity with myself? What if I don't want to do it? What if I'm exhausted? What if I'm depleted? I'm not being honest with myself. Where do I feel that in my body? Honesty, not feeling honest. Dishonesty. It could be in the same place, but it felt different in my body where it was located. It was a big thing that I've come to realize, because for years I was in this, for me, magical relationship. And then I took some space and I really became honest, and I saw reality as it was. My basic needs were not being met. Last night's meditation, the theme was, we listened to a discourse which was about love, the theme of today. And it was talking about, in life, in romantic relationships, that is the one place in the world that you should be able to go to and not pretend, and not have any filters, and feel safe. Come home to that partner and feel safe. And I realized for years I would come home and pretend. And I feel so it's sad to say this, because in our relationship we valued authenticity, we valued radical honesty. That's what we say to one another. But I would come home and I would come across as really independent and not needing him, and super happy to be alone, and super, and I guess I wasn't honest with myself. I'd pretend that I wouldn't need to spend that much time with him, and just to make sure he was happy, and always, it's so funny because I was so all the time thinking about him and making sure he was happy, and trying not to bother him, yeah. And so my needs were met, and then he tells me now that his needs were not met, which is, I don't know, because my whole day was wrapped around thinking about his needs, and then his needs were not met. And it's craziness to me. It's like, wow, my whole day was wrapped around thinking about him and pretending that I didn't need anything back. Just giving and giving and giving, and not allowing myself to voice my needs and receive. And so then it would come out in very sideways. My upset and the hurt would come out very sideways instead of raw, authentic, and honest, and vulnerable and true. So it was just 3 days of, I felt, shifting on this cellular level. I woke up very dizzy. We started with meditation in the morning with chakras, and I felt very dizzy, like almost wanting to pass out again. Just weird. It's like, where's this dizziness coming from? It's weird. I was tired and dizzy. And then later in the day, or in the morning, we had to intuitively choose a card again. And I chose the card change. And I was like, yes, I'm very much in a change. But when I read up on what change was in the book, it talked about you're at the edge of this wheel holding on and that you feel dizzy. And you need to move into the center of the wheel where you're strong and centered. And it said you need to change habit patterns. Which exactly, I'm in this constant habit pattern. I think for the last 4 years I've been in habit patterns with avoidant men. And so they were constantly triggering my rejection, constantly triggering my needs, my kind of shame in my needs. You know, they'd even be like, oh, you're needy. Oh, that's like the worst thing anyone can say. But alone, I'm very strong, confident, and happy. So if I'm needy, it's because I'm triggered and my needs are not being met and I'm not with the right person. I'm not in a secure, loving relationship where I can be my whole self, because if I'm that, if I receive the love and the appreciation that I desire and need to feel loved, I will never have these triggers activated. I'm looking for it and I will have it. So that was really profound for me. Like, oh yes, I'm in this change. I'm really changing. I need to change these habit patterns. And I like that, as the astrology 8 years ago said, these dates from the 21st to 3 months later, literally 3 months later, 3 months later, and it just so happens to be a couple days before my renter leaves my home. So it's like, I need to be alone. I need to be in isolation here in Costa Rica, because I am alone now, to deal with this, to change my habit patterns, to be in this deep solitude and silence, and it's rainy season and introspection and alone before I go home. And when I go home, I don't know what will happen. I don't know. I will be around friends and maybe family again. I might be able to see my family again. I will be in relationship with other again. Maybe in another partnership. But this is this precious time where I can really practice changing my habit patterns. I'm in deep change. Theme of love. The final quote from Osho, which I really liked, was, "Be the light unto the world. Be yourself. You are irreplaceable. Don't follow others. There is no one like you." What a nice reminder, Sometimes in my past relationship I felt just another, not important, replaceable. And that's why I feel now my belief system is how it's manifested. My fear was I would walk away and he wouldn't care. I would leave his life and he wouldn't cry. And that's exactly what happened. I dreamed that and just, okay, cut me out of his life and I'm done. But it's a nice reminder that just be me, be my authentic self with my needs. Don't pretend that I'm cool and suave and independent. I am that and I yearn for deep intimacy. And I am irreplaceable. There is no one who will ever be like me. Even though I have an identical twin sister, we are so different. We are so different. We are opposites almost. We are opposites and we're similar. But there's no one like me.